has had 25 or 26 concussions in his career.
Jesus.
He actually stopped wrestling for a while because the doctors told him if you get one more, you could possibly die. And then he got one more at work when he moved to Oregon and stopped wrestling and realized, like, if I can do it here, then I can go back in. But me as a student, to prove, like, how much, like, we take that seriously, especially after the Chris Benoit thing, is I've had one concussion in 7 years, and I'm a 150-pound female. I fly like a mofo, and I'm an intergender worker. So I get power bombed, I dive off of stuff, I jump to the outside, I do all sorts of stupid stuff. And I've only had one in 7 years. So to just attest to the amount of ridiculous and time period-wise, because he's been wrestling for about 15 years, like, it's definitely something to take serious. I'm sorry, I know I'm backtracking, but I wanted to get that in.
No, you're okay.
I'm sorry, I kind of want to backtrack here again, too. Back to the conversation we were talking about before about, if Chris Benoit were alive today, would he have done what he did later, or, if he would have died? I mean, that kind of brought me back to, the accident that happened at Owen Hart. Like, that took away all my innocence in, like, wrestlers being these larger than life, nothing can really hurt them, kind of.
They're human. They're mortal.
Exactly. It humanized wrestlers for me. I mean, God, that was 98 or whatever it was. I was young. I was really young, like 10, 11, 12 years old. And,
I was 8.
Could you imagine if Chris Benoit, if he really had these, I mean, obviously he did, but these issues he had with his brain and, if the steroids or whatever it would be had affected his heart, could you imagine if he died in the middle of the ring, like on live television, like during a match? You know what I mean? Like, nothing could be worse than what he did, as far as, like, killing his wife and his child. But for a younger kid, many years later who never experienced the Owen Hart tragedy like many of us, if not all of us have, I mean, that would have happened on live television. That could have potentially happened, too. I mean, really, really traumatizing shit could have happened, too, thinking about it in retrospect. I just wanted to get that out. I didn't mean to backtrack the conversation. I needed to get that out.
This may sound shitty of me, and I hate to sound this way, but, like, the Owen Hart thing didn't really affect me that much because it was an accident. You know what I mean? Like, we get people get in car wrecks every day, and it's sad, and this was just so happened to be at a wrestling show, and it was really sad, and don't get me wrong, I was upset that it happened. I mean, it was horrible accident, horrible tragedy.
It was circumstantial, and the same thing would have happened with Chris Benoit, God forbid, if something like that happened, if he didn't do what he did. You know what I mean? Like,
Right, but like the Pillman thing affected me more because it was a person who had made bad choices that ended up dying. Well, maybe it wasn't even bad choices. Just had a career, the car wrecks and whatever else. They ended up taking pills, ended up, dead early, kind of like Eddie Guerrero. Sorry, I think Brittany was chiming in. Sorry, Brittany.
Oh, no, I was going to say, yeah, like, because I watched the Owen Hart thing when I was 8.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I can definitely attest to the humanity aspect of it. Like, it did definitely kind of kill that whole superhero, Superman, like, immortal Hercules kind of ideal of wrestlers. Because you literally watch somebody die in front of your eyes. Like, 'cause I watched it on Black Box. I watched it live. Like, I saw the hit and then the blackout, them turn to the crowd, all that shit. You know what I mean? So, like, and I remember that well now because I've obviously never watched it again since. But yeah, it's definitely one of those things that adds like humility to it, and I do feel like I'm sorry, I totally missed your name.
David, it's okay.
Okay, hi David, I'm Brittany. I do feel exactly the way that David does about it. Like I feel like that is something that if I can scave by and not have another generation witness a death in a wrestling ring. That is definitely something like I'm thankful for. Like the way everything went down was god awful, but like some people can just not like it takes 2 seconds to make a decision to live or die. Especially in a ring. You're getting stumped for a pile driver. You decide you don't want to post. You have a broken neck. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It literally takes 2 seconds to decide whether you want to survive that bump or not.
Well, that's why trust is so important in the ring. I know that.
Definitely. But I'm saying, like, if he didn't want to, like, if he decided that he was done and he wanted to end it and there was some other thing that snapped in the ring, like, during a match, like, the whole millions of people would witness. And it would
could have been
millions and, like, thousands of children.
And it couldn't even been as him, like, or it couldn't even been as, like, easy as him dying of a heart attack or stroke. He could have just completely snapped and just mishandled somebody some way to the point of just that person doesn't walk anymore. And it could have been that sort of snapping.
Yeah.
Does anybody, and I wanted to get your perspective without getting you blackballed at all, so I just want to ask this gently. Does anybody feel like the WWE was wrong for scrubbing Chris Benoit from their, history books or from, I know he's still on WWE Network, but you can't search for him and that type of thing. Me personally, I love the guy, but I totally get their angle, and I don't blame them. But anybody else, I mean, if you do, let me know.
I don't agree with it. No,
you don't agree with it?
We are on two different sides here.
Well, okay, I want to hear the other side. I mean, nothing wrong with that.
Right. Yeah. No, I think, like, his wrestling career has nothing to do with what happened. Like, he was such an amazing wrestler, such an inspiration, like, work-wise, and such a huge lesson to younger generations. And, like, that's not something I wouldn't tell, like, my kid, if I ever had kids, I wouldn't tell them, how he passed away and what he did, but I would definitely let them watch the legacy of Chris Benoit, because he was a damn good fucking worker. Like, I would never condone what he did, you know what I mean? But as I said, as we've all talked about this whole time, we all have different ideals and we understand there are circumstantial things. But as a wrestler, that is something I would definitely, like, want my kids to experience, is the same emotions he elicted in me as a kid. And as an adult.
I agree with you on that part. But, like you said, his professional work has nothing to do with what he did in his personal life. But from a business standpoint, and the fact that the WWE is a globally traded brand, it was smart on their part to try to, like, distance themselves as far away as possible. I mean,
but in a couple of years, they could still add his shit, and it wouldn't be anything. Like, Linda McMahon is not running for a seat anymore.
True, but with the whole PG direction, though, and how much
advertising
it does cause. Exactly.
The PG direction has started going more TV-14, though. Like, as
I wish it would.
Years. Well, it's starting to. It's starting to. They've started cussing more. Like, they started doing slightly more controversial things. I mean, they've started teasing intergender even. Not, like, to, like, the T, but they're at, like, a 30% push towards it. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Like, the things that were controversial when it went to TV PG are starting to not be as controversial, because you got to think they still have to keep up with the indies.
And John,
when the indies are more interesting, the crowd's still going to go back to the indies, because that's what happened when they went TV PG from the get-go. That's why we have, like, NXT, and they picked up every major indie worker they have. Like, that was out
right.
there.
That's why Ring of Honor picked up, all the momentum it had too, and that's why people started turning to TNA more, because it was something different.
We draw 1,500 a fucking show, like, you know what I mean? I totally feel it. It's something different, something new.
Interesting perspective is that if WWE ever signs the living Benoit's son, they just need to make
David.
the last name searchable.
David,
sorry. But they just make the last name searchable. That could be finally a way I could search Chris Benoit matches easily.
Yeah.
I don't want to do this anymore.
I highly doubt they would ever let him use that name, though.
No, they wouldn't.
Me too, and I don't think they would sign him because of it. I really don't. I think no matter how good he is, they would avoid it just because of that. Like, I think it all Brittany, and this is especially directed towards you, I think it all boils down to advertisers. No matter what type of product they're trying to present, they don't want to run off advertisers. And these advertisers are stupid. They don't care. They don't care about anything but the bottom line. And if they're scared that people aren't going to buy their product because they're supporting WWE, who had a murderer that's now being promoted, that's how they look at it. I'm not saying I do.
Don't promote it. Just unlock it. Like, don't promote it. Just make a search engine for it. You don't have to be like Chris Benoit, the DVD, like, or Blu-ray, whatever's hot in the street.
Now, that's not how business runs.
You just just let it go subtly, because the fucking people that want to watch it will search it, and they have access to it. The people that don't want to pretend he doesn't exist can pretend that he doesn't exist.
But we're in the age of the internet. I don't think it.
Yeah, oh yeah. I don't think he should ever be inducted into the Hall of Fame. However, if he were already there, I don't think he should be taken out. Not that they have an actual Hall of Fame, but you know what I mean? It'd be like O.J. Simpson or the Wrestling Observer, how they did it. Like, I think if he was already there, you don't take him out, but he should never be in there because, like Steve Austin said this,
well,
his last days of life overshadow it to me.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, if they induct him, they have to do a ceremony for it, which is going to bring a ton of eyes to Chris Benoit.
And they don't want that.
Publicity-wise, is a horrible idea. But still, like, certain things should be available. Like, it should just be unlocked. Like, it should be like a video game. You put in a code, you get the Chris Benoit shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't even feel like advertisers would even know.
For me...
Again, like I said, it's the age of the internet, so somebody's going to end up going along and mentioning it, and then it's just going to catch like wildfire, and then, hey...
As soon as I said that, that's what I thought, too. I was like, somebody was like, Chris Benoit matches on network. Woo! The crowd's going to go ape shit, and the advertiser's going to know.
They were there before, but now we can just search them.
I don't have to look up the pay-per-view first on Google and then fucking look the DVD. I have to search for the pay-per-view and then find the match.
I mean,
that would be one of the fastest viral things in wrestling in a while. They're like, oh shit, you can look up Chris Benoit stuff on the network now. Like, that would be fucking everywhere in no time.
If they unbanned Chris Benoit uploaded characters, per se.
Oh, right?
Wildfire.
Oh, yeah.
They just let it leak through. Oh, man, we had hackers get a hold of us. They just let the code through. Like, I mean, it's WWE. They can work the heel route. They don't have to pretend that they did it.
I mean, I was at WrestleMania 20 live when Benoit won the title, and him and Guerrero shared that amazing, unforgettable moment in the ring where they embraced. They both finally made it to the pinnacle of their careers, and they're both world champions. Unfortunately, for fans who got to experience that, whether you were like myself and you were there live, or you watched it on pay-per-view, moments like that. They're forgotten in the grander scheme of things. I get where WWE is coming from, and I don't blame them. But for somebody like me, like you're taking away these moments that are like just so great, because of the body of work that Chris Benoit put forth in the ring for like 18 plus years, like 20 years. I forget how long he wrestled before he passed away. But it's just taking away so much, He
killed a 7-year-old. That's my argument to all of it. He killed a 7-year-old.
Agreed. No, I get it.
I'm just saying, as a company, that's how I feel.
I get it, and it's again, as a fan and whatever, it sucks. And you're taking away, who Randy Orton defeated for his first World Championship. And
Stevie Richards.
Yeah, you guys are going to hate me for making this comparison, but Michael Vick still plays football, and he killed numerous puppies.
Hey, I didn't support that, by the way, Brittany, just so you know. I fuck Michael Vick.
I make a stink about it all the time, and people try to come at me, and I'm like, no.
Vick will come at you, but I got your back.
And electrocuted them. Fuck you.
I got your back.
Thank you.
Well, no, legit, this is the thing that I want to know, and it seems like I already know the answer from Thomas, David, and Brittany, but, I'll ask, okay? We all love Chris Benoit as a wrestler, I think. And I think I'm the odd man out here. As far as watching his matches, I'm able to do it finally, but I swear I didn't watch his matches for like 9 years. I still feel really weird about it, really, because I can't stop thinking about it when I see him. And I know, like I said, he was my favorite wrestler, and I haven't had a favorite since. Although, Congo Kong, I am wearing your shirt right now, so props to you, buddy.
I will say, just to chime in real quick, it took me 5 years because I always wanted the Chris Benoit Hard Knocks DVD.
Mm-hmm.
It's so hard to find now.
5 years after his death, I actually sawed it up, and looking at it. It took me 2 weeks to finally like have the decision like morally